Welcome to the deep dive.
What if civilization's true story isn't about progress, but about forgetting? What if buried beneath our cathedrals and scriptures lies a secret older than language, a sacrament that dissolved the boundary between human and divine?
And what if the whole story of religion is really the story of how we lost contact with our own ecstatic birthright?
This is the journey of the Immortality Key, a search for the hidden sacrament of the West and for the molecules that once opened the gates of eternity.
Today, we are immersing ourselves in Brian C. Muraresku's really fascinating work, The Immortality Key. It's an exploration into what he calls the secret history of the religion with no name, this deep tradition, apparently, of sacramental psychoactive use woven right into Western culture.
Right. And our mission today, essentially, is to trace this tension, which is just millennia old. It's this conflict between those seeking direct visionary experience, the mystics, you could say, and those enforcing the rules, the dogma, the institutional authority. And to follow this thread, we really have to connect dots that seem unrelated: archaeology, chemistry, classical texts. It's about understanding what was actually at stake. So where do we start looking for the roots of that?
Well, you have to go back to the longest-running spiritual event we know of in recorded history, the Eleusinian Mysteries. This was the spiritual center, the Super Bowl, you called it, of the ancient world, running for nearly 2,000 years, right? From like 1500 BC all the way to AD 392.
So what was the secret to that incredible staying power?
Its longevity was its secret weapon, in a way, the power of Eleusis. It wasn't in the usual stuff like animal sacrifices or chanting standard Greek prayers, no.
Yeah.
Millions went there seeking proof of the hereafter.
Guaranteed survival after death. And crucially, this guarantee wasn't just about faith or what a priest told you. It was based entirely on an experience. The price of admission: silence.
Because the knowledge wasn't something you could just, read about. It had to be preserved.
That's the paradox then, right? You build this wall of silence to protect an experience.
Precisely. As Aristotle apparently noted, the initiates went there not to learn something, but to experience something.
They weren't looking for faith. They wanted revelation.
The whole point was to become an epoptes.
Which means?
The one who has seen it all. They were after first-hand knowledge, proof that death was not the end.
That's completely different from the sort of polite civic religion we associate with the Greeks.
Entirely different. Eleusis was all about direct mystical encounters. And the key to that seeing, the central act, was drinking the special elixir, the Kykeon. The book really emphasizes how vital this was. It says the Greeks literally couldn't imagine life without the mysteries. If that kind of experience was so normal, so central, maybe it's not so shocking that the earliest Christians might have just absorbed it.
It provides crucial context, doesn't it? We're talking about a culture where ingesting the divine was almost routine. And it wasn't just Eleusis. Think about the Dionysian rites, too. Drinking the wine was ingesting the god, Dionysus himself. That's what induced enthusiasm and theos, literally meaning God-possessed inspiration.
Okay, so this ancient knowledge, this familiarity with potent substances, it leads us straight to the entheogenic hypothesis. For a lot of people, the modern story kicks off in 1955. R. Gordon Wasson, the banker turned mycologist, he was in Mexico, and he experienced psilocybin mushrooms with the Mazatec shaman, Maria Sabina.
Right, the famous Life magazine article.
And in that moment, instantly connects his visions, which he described as more real than real, to the secrecy around Eleusis.
And what really gives that idea some scientific legs is the follow-up work. Albert Hofmann,
The LSD guy.
the LSD guy himself. He analyzed samples of ergot, this fungus that grows on wheat and barley, found right there near Eleusis. And he confirmed they contained psychoactive alkaloids, organovine, lysergic acetamide, found in the sacred grain of the most important spiritual tradition in the ancient West. That's not just finding, a random plant somewhere.
No, it's finding the chemical signature, the potential chemical signature for that profound experience right there in their core food supply, in their sacred drink.
The Kykeon, that strange barley drink the initiates had.
Exactly. It points right to the Kykeon, and it speaks volumes about the knowledge those priestesses must have had.
You mean like botanical knowledge, pharmaceutical?
Absolutely. Think about it. They had to navigate this razor-thin margin. Too much ergot or the wrong kind, and it's deadly poison.
Right.
But just enough of the right active ingredients. And you potentially unlock this profound visionary state. They weren't just priestesses. They were, in effect, pharmacologists.
And this whole visionary tradition, it wasn't just Greece, was it? The archaeology is pushing this back even further now.
Oh, yeah, much further.
There's archaeological evidence suggesting ritual consumption predates Eleusis by millennia. We're seeing signs of these huge, structured ritual feasts, maybe tied to early skull cults. Finds like graveyard beer at Rakafet Cave.
Oh, graveyard beer.
Yeah, and even at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey.
You know, the oldest megalithic site ever found.
9th millennium BC, right. Astounding place.
And there, linked to what seems like a skull cult, they found these huge stone basins, troughs capable of holding, get this, 42 gallons of liquid each.
So we're talking about massive communal psychoactive feasts, basically.
That's what the evidence suggests. This wasn't some quiet, solitary meditation. It looks like large-scale, public, spiritual events, possibly fueled by psychoactive liquids.
And we have actual scientific confirmation that these ancient brews weren't always just, standard beer. Researchers have found psychoactive compounds like hyoscyamine from nightshade plants mixed into beer in burial sites in Iberia, some dating back to 2340 BC. But maybe the most direct hit for classical antiquity is finding the actual Ergot sclerotia, the fungus itself, at a site in Catalonia.
So actual physical evidence of the psychedelic substance at a ritual site.
Hard material proof. It really strengthens the case for psychedelic ritual use back then.
And yet, despite this evidence accumulating, scholars like Carl Ruck, who connected classics with pharmacology, they faced pushback.
Oh, absolutely. Often professionally marginalized. The whole theory was sometimes labeled perverse.
Why such resistance?
Well, part of it might be the preference for a cleaner narrative, one where ancient rites smoothly transitioned into harmless symbols. But there's also a practical challenge. Think about those ancient chalices, maybe from Eleusis itself. Standard procedure in archaeology and conservation often involved cleaning them thoroughly.
Ah, so the chemical evidence, the actual residue, could literally be washed away, lost forever.
Exactly. It makes finding that smoking gun, or rather the smoking cup, incredibly difficult.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. The bridge to Christianity. The early Greek-speaking Christians, the Paleo-Christians, they inherited this whole cultural complex of sacred, potentially intoxicating wine.
And repurposed it. Transform the pagan ecstatic experience into their own core sacrament.
That seems to be the argument. The original Eucharist, then, wasn't just a symbolic memorial meal.
It was a vehicle, a way to get direct personal access to the divine.
Which fits perfectly with groups like the Gnostics. They were all about gnosis, direct insight, self-knowledge.
Right, their idea that the self and the divine are identical.
They weren't aiming for belief. They were aiming to become divine through experience.
But that kind of direct experience, it's hard to institutionalize, isn't it?
It's ephemeral, and institutions tend to last. As Brother David Steindl-Rast put it, over time, the pipes tend to get rusty. Meaning the original vivid experience starts to fade. It gets replaced by the written word, by doctrine, by rules, and that then fossilizes into dogmatism, into moral codes.
And the living heart of it gets lost, replaced by bureaucracy, hierarchy.
The experiential core fades away.
And this wasn't just like a gentle fading. The sources argue this loss was actively enforced, deliberate.
Yes, through what the book calls the machinery of orthodoxy. It identifies these three big historical moments designed to enforce this cultural amnesia.
Okay, what are they?
First, the Roman suppression of the Dionysian rites back in 186 BC.
Right.
Second, the later Roman Catholic persecution of early visionary Christians like the Gnostics. And third, much more recently, the 20th century war on drugs.
3 distinct moments. Same pattern of suppression.
And this shift, the move away from that potent visionary experience towards something more controlled, more institutional. You're saying it was connected to sidelining women.
That seems to be a key part of the story. Remember the Dionysian rites, often led by women, the Maenads. And in early Christianity, we see women in really privileged positions, especially in the house churches, the catacomb rituals. There are frescoes, like in the catacombs of Priscilla, showing women actually administering the cup during the funerary banquet, the refrigerium. They held the chalice. They were mixing and dispensing.
They had the power of the potion, so to speak.
In a sense, yes. And this connects directly to why Gnostic Christians became such a threat to the emerging church hierarchy.
Gnosticism.
Yeah.
Seeking gnosis, right? Direct knowledge through experience, not through a priest.
Gnostic texts were condemned, burned, because they championed that personal, unmediated connection to the divine. I mean, if you can talk to God yourself, if you can experience immortality directly, what do you need the priest for? What do you need the whole institution for?
It makes the structure kind of obsolete. So this suppression of direct access, Muraresku calls it the psychedelic slapdown. And it's not just one event, it's a pattern.
A continuous pattern, he argues. From the Roman suppression of the Bacchanalia, which was arguably the first major religious persecution in Europe, all the way through the church, cracking down on any kind of visionary wine.
Right up to the modern war on drugs.
It's always about controlling access, controlling the keys to that experience. It was about erasing knowledge, particularly women's knowledge.
Erasing centuries of botanical expertise, pharmacological knowledge, often held and passed down by women.
And this carried on for centuries.
Violently.
The Inquisition records are chilling on this.
What do they show?
They detail women being hunted down, accused of witchcraft, sure, but specifically for practicing unauthorized forms of the Eucharist. Using their own recipes, mixing illicit or traditional psychoactive ingredients like that bizarre lizard potion mentioned in connection with a Pompeian discovery into the sacred cup. So the witchcraft trials were at least partly about stamping out this ancient pharmacological sacramental knowledge.
That's the argument. It served as a cultural tool to consolidate power for the church and the state, and to bury this lineage of direct experience, especially the parts stewarded by women.
So the memory gets wiped, deliberately erased from official history. But the source suggests it never truly disappeared.
No, the religion with no name survived, it argues, on backup discs, as the author puts it.
Meaning
the plants themselves.
Okay.
The psychedelic fungi and flora, they persisted even when the rituals were destroyed.
And now today we're seeing what the book calls the return of the repressed.
Yes, this whole modern psychedelic renaissance.
With actual science backing it up this time.
The scientific validation is stunning, frankly. It seems to confirm so many of these ancient intuitions.
When that direct experience is permitted again, albeit in a clinical setting, those psilocybin studies, Johns Hopkins, NYU, they consistently find that a huge majority, like 75% of participants, rate the experience as one of the top 5 most spiritually significant moments of their entire lives.
That's incredible. And the nature of that experience often involves things like non-attachment, or that phrase, dying before you die.
Concepts that echo right back to the mystery initiations, to Eleusis, to mystical traditions across cultures. It's like we're spontaneously recovering something ancient.
A rejection of just being told what to believe in favor of actually experiencing something profound.
So the source suggests that if enough people had this kind of experience, this God pill, just once.
The suggestion is pretty radical. It might trigger a kind of new reformation, a shift in consciousness on a massive scale.
But the tension is still there, isn't it? The same one from 2,000 years ago.
Absolutely. The mystics always show up with that embarrassing reminder for the establishment, for the people in charge. The only way to know God is to experience God, whether it was the initiates at Eleusis or the Gnostics in the catacombs or someone in a clinical trial today.
The direct experience versus the dogma.
That continuity is there. This psychotropic ritual tradition survived for millennia, often hidden. And now science is, ironically perhaps, bringing it back out into the light.
The philosophical implications feel enormous. We're potentially reuniting science, spirituality, chemistry, things we've kept rigidly separate for centuries.
We are. And if we do manage to reclaim these ancient traditions, these sacramental experiences, the huge challenge is ensuring it stays sacred.
Meaning not letting it get corrupted again.
Not letting it get co-opted by the same kinds of bureaucracy, the same thirst for control that arguably destroyed it in the first place. Which leads to a pretty profound thought. If that core mystical experience, that idea of dying before you die, the ultimate initiation, if that was once regularly accessible through a sacrament, a specific substance, how might reclaiming that lost knowledge change how we face our modern anxieties, our existential fears?
It's a powerful question. If our ancestors had a technology, a pharmacon, for confronting mortality and experiencing the eternal, what does it mean if we've lost it or forgotten how to use it?
So the final question lingers, doesn't it? If these sacred rites were once a doorway to the divine within us, and history systematically slammed that door shut, what happens to our understanding of reality itself if we manage to unlock it again?